Hello, this is Dr. Masumutai here. As usual, you know our company, Ashacare Medical Solutions, whereby we bring healthcare solutions to you all through our WhatsApp channel, through YouTube, through TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Today I'm joined by Alan Coy.
The biggest title ever. Okay, that's amazing. I'm so happy to be with you today, and I'm so happy to have this discussion with you today.
Okay, what's your take on preventative care and creating awareness?
I think creating awareness and prevention is better than cure, as the people who came before us would say, and we've seen it work. With the experience we've had in this field, we've seen it work so much. And I believe giving people information, first-hand and factual information, not just information, because there are people who give. Yeah, as the guys, people who came before us would say, prevention is better than cure. It's very key for us to give people information that they need, and we don't just give any information; we give factual information. Because you remember, in the field that you're working in, the health field, if you misinform people, you have misinformed the whole generation, and you've destroyed the whole community. But if you give them facts, you helping to heal the community. So that is what you do. And I believe it's one thing that every health provider, regardless of your level or where you're providing the services from, we should be able to to be giving information to people, factual information to people, to try and save them from the things that they're going through.
Yeah, remember when you train one, you train three, and there, three is the community. So, about what you do in content creation, do you continue giving preventative care?
Yeah, I do it not just in content creation, but I do it everywhere I go. If I see guys are walking on the street and they're holding their hands, and the female and male and the female, sometimes I do jokes and tell them, "Hey guys, make sure you're safe," because you never know what will happen next and all that. So just to put them at alert, like something can happen, and maybe if they've forgotten to go buy a protection, they will pass by a pharmacy and get themselves one, or go in most of the public hospitals will be having some of these information that they need for them to protect themselves and all that. Yeah.
Okay, in your healthcare provision, what is the condition you've handled and you regretted, like, or maybe you were like, if this was caught early, it would have been prevented?
Yeah, I remember a case when I met this guy. Okay, this guy came in, and it was a case of he had an intimacy, sexual intercourse with someone, and they had never known the status, the birth status, and all that. And when this guy is coming in, getting the information that he can get the help that is needed from the healthcare providers, he came in when it's too early, too late, not too early, that there was nothing we could do about it. But just try to talk to him and start him on ARVs. That was, he met this woman who was HIV positive, and this guy never knew, because they had never gone for any to get any information from any medical facility. And when he came in there, so when he came in, it was too late. It was beyond the 72 hours, that you can be given PEP and all that, and that was 3 weeks after. So in that time, whatever has happened has already happened.
Yeah.
There's no any preventive measure we can give, or rather start managing the case that time. So I really regret it, and I feel like, bro, I feel like this information is all over everywhere. Why couldn't you have just sought any assistance? And he says he was afraid. It's like, no, you were afraid by that time. Now what do we really do? So you need to be strong enough, be strong enough, accept, and this guy was like, now how do I tell my wife? And that is what really hit me hard. Like, even if I talk to your wife, I help you to talk to your wife, are you ready for this? And that guy, no, I'm not ready to disclose mine. Like, now how are you going to do this? Again, within the area, within where we work, we cannot disclose that information, because confidentiality is a key in that. Regardless whether he was my father and I know my mother, I cannot go tell my mother this is what is happening. Whether this was my brother-in-law, I cannot go tell my sister, kule ni kubaya, please. You cannot do that. So it really hurt me, and that reminded me of the circle of events that are happening in our communities in such cases. Yep.
So remember, guys, prevention is better than cure, and we need to create awareness, and this channel is all about creating awareness out there so that you can be able to prevent most of the conditions and don't regret in future. So Alan,
Yes.
as a healthcare provider again,
Yeah.
what age have you seen it happening? Whereby you see a client and maybe they were thinking, I am too early to get this.
Hey. There's a case. This was a case that involved defilement. And it was a very close, like, so it was a family, more of a family thing and all that. And it came in as a defilement case, and that is on part of GBV, because I also used to work, I also do the same, GBV awareness within the community and all that. So when they called off, they called in as a case of defilement, that is in GBV section. So going to check this out, getting to that place, like, I felt like, this is just beyond me to handle. And in such a cases, in the field that you're in, you can refer that case to someone else to handle if you feel like you cannot handle it.
Yeah, if it's
so
too personal.
Yes, I looked at it. These people are not my relatives, but I looked at it like, this is just beyond. Like, how was this man thinking to do this? Like, ain't there people of your age that you could have sought to finish your urge at all, if it's about finishing the urge and all this. So I feel like I cannot just handle this. And that was 12 years. The girl was 12 years, and this man was 30. So I felt like I just referred that case because I couldn't talk, because to me it was really disgusting and out of this world. I couldn't imagine someone of that age doing such a thing. Yeah.
Also, again, in healthcare provision, have you handled any issues concerning pregnancy? At what age? And maybe they would have prevented, and also at a later age whereby you've handled infertility and maybe it could have been prevented.
For those two cases, I've not handled them. I've never handled them, and up to now I've never handled them. So I have no comment on the same.
Okay, maybe I can comment on that.
Sure.
When it comes to family planning, remember it's a preventative care. So it's good to talk first to your teenagers out there. If you are a mother, talk to your teenage. If you are listening to us as an 18 years and above, remember prevention is better than cure. So go to a healthcare provider and talk to them about how you can prevent yourself from getting pregnant, from getting STDs or any other conditions out there. So I've dealt with secondary infertility, and it was quite bad because I've dealt with quite a range of secondary infertility. One was due to family planning, whereby they were not advised early.
Family planning went wrong.
Yeah, they were not advised early that this particular family planning has a higher dosage. So consistency use of it can reduce return to fertility or can elongate return to fertility. So they ended up using for quite some times, from 20 years to by the time they were hitting 30, and it caused a lot of secondary infertility issues, again because they had already, by the time they were starting, they had already conceived again. And now also another thing was part of the STD. STD can cause pelvic inflammatory diseases, and your tubes get blocked.
Yeah.
So I've handled that, and remember, these are things which could be prevented. Prevention is part of the treatment, because if you prevent these diseases, will make healthcare so smooth for all. Yeah.
But we are human beings, and sometimes we don't really get to do what we are told to do, especially when someone is warning you over something. You really don't really want to get the warning, but you really want to go through the experience and come explain the experience. But what we're trying to say, you getting through the experience to explain the experience to someone else who has not gone through the experience is much tough and painful, because some experiences you'll never get out of them as a whole. And even losing your status, your negative status to positive status, is something that you don't really just, there are people who don't really accept it from the beginning.
Yeah.
But imagine if you would have just held your horses and not did it, or if you would have found a protection to use it, you wouldn't be in where you are. It's like a loss of, it's like it has a stage of loss and grief. We call it loss and grief. I'm grieving and that you first start with losing, then you grieve.
You grieve.
Yeah, those stages. So it will take you through some other things, and you'll feel like, wow, now you start wishing that you could not do it.
Yeah.
So when we talk about you preventing or looking forward into preventing yourself from getting some other things, it's something that is very key that everyone should look into. I think the closest I've ever come to the case that you just explained is, I remember At the time, we went to one of these universities, one of the universities in this country, the Saki University, and I was talking to, we were talking about family planning, and we were talking to some group of boys, and I'll call them boys and girls because they are younger than me. If you think you're older than me, well and okay. After talking this, we're talking about reproductive health system, and the question came in, and I asked a question. There's this, is it a myth? Should I call it a myth or a misunderstanding that people have? That a man's sperm will make a woman's,
hips get broader.
Bigger. Yes, get broader and bigger and all that, and get the, the baby's thing to be bigger and all that. So there are those who believe, and they ask them a question: how many of you believe that doing this will make you get a good figure, hips, and very good chest? And I was so surprised that many girls accepted and said it's true. So I asked them a question. When you guys were in a biology class in high school, the digestive system, what was the digestive started from where and ended where?
Yeah.
Because they said a man, leaving those stuff into his like proteins, and it should make them grow. So when I asked that question, none of them answered me that question. And I felt like if this is the information that they have and they are in university, once they go back and meet those who are not in the university, and how the way the people in university are always respected in our communities, and they tell those guys how will what
The
fire will be,
community will be misled.
misled completely. And just to put it, to make it worse, again, we went to another church. And in this church, we were talking about gender-based violence in our families, and also talking about matters to do with reproductive health. And it was a congregation of men and women. So I posed the same question. And then I was so shocked again. A very good number of mothers and fathers accepted that that's a fact, that when a man leaves those stuff in you as a woman, you will grow your hips. So I looked around and I saw another slender madam, a woman who's slender, and she's been in marriage for longer. So I called her, come over here. And I asked her, how many times a day or how many times a week do you usually have it? And she said, some good times, some good moments. And I asked her, now, why is it that your stuff is not growing and you've been in marriage for, you said 10 years? Yes, 10 years, and you're not growing big. And she gave me an answer that another very young girl gave me somewhere in another high school somewhere, that maybe the stuff from my husband is not rich with proteins to make me do this. And the very, very answer I received from another girl in another high school somewhere. And I asked the same question: what if John doesn't do it and it doesn't become big? And she said that means that John's stuff is not well enriched with proteins. So I will try Jack. What if Jack doesn't do it? I said I will try John. Yeah, John. If John doesn't do it, Matthew can do it. So that means she's sleeping with this, having intercourse with these people, unprotected intercourse with these people, thinking that she will broaden her hips and have a very good chest and all that. But what she doesn't know, that she's risking very many things. One, if in case she's within that time, fertile time to conceive, she will conceive. And what will happen next? She'll have to go and do what? Do an abortion. Okay. If she doesn't conceive, there is a danger of STDs.
Yeah.
And HIV is part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
HIV is part of it, which it has no cure up to now. So sometimes you look at these things like, wow, who misinformed these people?
There's so much ignorance.
And now with that, we have that. I feel you're burdened by the. Now that we have that information, why are we not giving this information out to these people for them to understand?
So we are telling the healthcare providers out there, it is your duty to ensure that every client you handle, you educate. Whatever condition, it has a cause. It could be prevented. So educate, re-educate. Do not get tired. Make it up to you, healthcare providers.
Sure, it's not all about receiving a payment. There is what you call pro bono services that you can give within your community. That is the reason why you want your community to be a better place. And why we do this is because if you think telling your neighbor's son not to do that or daughter not to do that is heavy work, wait until, especially where we stay in Nairobi, wait until that neighbor gets your daughter. your neighbor's son gets your daughter, or your neighbor's daughter gets enjoined with your son.
Or
That's when you know, yeah, the circle, that circle continues and all that. Or wait until your husband sees your neighbor's daughter and does the stuff with them. That's when you'll know how important it was for you to lay that information out and all that. What you're trying to say, we say if you're not infected, you are affected.
Yeah.
And that is the fact. Maybe should we say this, or I don't know if my statistics will be right, but you'll help me on this. In a group of 10, maybe one is infected.
Actually, in a group of 10,
yeah. two are infected.
And 5
are affected.
Yeah.
So the only 3 people who are safe in that group.
Yeah. And you never know which category you lie.
Because nowadays it's not written on the face.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, young people say outside, HIV was just small, and then people shared it, so it's no longer there, because by the way, there's no, we don't have that much awareness creation as it used to be with the early 80s and early 90s. Yeah. And it's something that we really need to go close to look into. And talking about that again, it reminds me of another thing. While doing faith-based initiative, sometimes back, we were reaching out to faith leaders and trying to give them, create awareness among them, matters to do with HIV and GBV, of which most of the time these guys are so spiritual that they believe HIV is a curse, or it's a kind of witchcraft and all that. So talking to these people, we found out that there are very many people who are so much informed on the same, and there is something that people will call faith healing. Like this guy is, with HIV, if you're taking your medication, you suppress the virus. Yeah. So when you go for the normal VCT test, it won't show that you're positive. Yeah. It remains to be negative. Definitely. So there are guys who are reached to that level of suppression. Then they hear there is this powerful man of God or woman of God coming in this area, and he prays for people, and people get healed.
And then he stops the medication.
Yes, and then once they are prayed for, they stop the medication. Then once they stop the medication, what happens again? The virus starts reproducing in the body.
Yeah. So to wrap up this, we're not creating stigma here. If you're already HIV positive, continue taking your medication or the pills very religiously, so that you can prevent complications, because complications will end you when you stop. And if you have already encountered GBV or gender-based violence, we are really sorry, and we're not creating stigma here. So make sure you educate other people about it, because knowledge is power. Prevention is key. We are supposed to prevent all conditions here, and we are up to it in this channel. So subscribe to his channel at Alan Koi, and also go to our channel and subscribe. Thank you.
The channel is Mercy Mutahi, and follow us. Any question that you have, kindly, we need a conversation on our comment section. So kindly leave that question over there. And if you need anything, you can reach on her inboxes. You can reach out on my inboxes. We'll get to answer all your questions. Ciao.